You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, card shop, arcade, theme park, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we have a very special episode. We have a guest. His name is Big Game Leroy. He is an independent wrestler from right here in New York, and he's got a very unique wrestling style that you are going to learn all about.
Oh, yeah. Hell of an interview. And please, guys, make sure to leave us a 5-star review on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And do not forget, you can get these episodes early, ad-free over at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Now, John, usually this is the part we do a little follow-up from the previous episode, but I got to tell you, I'm very excited. This is a very different style interview. We are actually speaking to a wrestler whose whole persona is that he is a gamer and a wrestler, and I feel like this was a match made in heaven, and I'm so excited. I don't think that we should waste any more time. Are you ready to, I guess, do the deep dive into the interview for this week?
It's time to play the game. All right, Game Marks, we told you he was here. We are being joined by House of Glory student, graduate?
Either or, whatever you want to call it.
Number 495 on the PWI Top 500. I think that's pretty damn cool. This is Big Game Leroy. What's up? Welcome to the Game Marks podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. This feels like a match made in heaven. Like literally.
I think for the past 2-3 years, I was telling George, like, oh, there's this wrestler, Big Game Leroy. He plays a switch while, like, we need him on the podcast.
Like, every time you had another viral clip going on, it would be in my inbox. I'm like, I'm already, you sent me one and I was already on board. We're now at like 6 or 7, and every time he just keeps getting more creative with them. Like, I'm 100% more down. Like, it just kept getting better and better every single time he sent me one.
Oh God, thank you guys. The love is really, I'm really feeling the love right now.
You're our people. Gamers got to stick together, man.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, can you give a brief explanation of your wrestling style, what you do, and then we'll take it from there.
All right. Well, as they said before, you guys, I'm Big Game Leroy. What I like to do is I call it a little bit of a switch style. Pun intended. I do a lot of wrestling with my Nintendo Switch in hands. It's not always intentional. It started off just kind of me just being like, hey, kind of stuck in the middle of this really cool game, you know, and then my music hits, and then, you know, I'm already in the ring, and then bell rings, and then this guy's charging at me, and I started wrestling from there. And, you know, it started off kind of very simple and small in scale, and it's just kind of evolved into just this thing that now everybody's like, can't wait to see what he does next. You know, dives or switches, you know, Hurricane Ranas, pretty much anything with no hands, I kind of do with my Nintendo Switch.
It's like, Mom, I can't pause right now. I got to go to the ring.
I would say that's like the epitome of just one more game, or I can't pause him in the middle of something. Like, you have taken that to the next level. Like, no, the match is still happening. I'm just going to be playing this search while it's happening.
Yeah, like, if I finish my game, I'll put it down when I finish. You know what I mean? Like...
I gotta ask, do you train with the Switch? Like, when you're training, do you go through the motions actually with the Switch?
So I have trained with the Switch before a few times, you know. It's so funny because I've actually made like a few like workout montages. Like, I've gymmed with the Switch in my hands, you know, like leg day. I love leg day. I mean, I don't
it's the way to go.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just over on the leg press, just going like this, you know, like with like 5 plates on each side, and everybody's just like, everybody at the gym is just judging me, but then also impressed, but then judging me. You know, it's very interesting reactions I get when I train with the Switch.
It's like, why not? People are on their phones during their workouts.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Is the Switch your console of choice?
I would
not wrestling.
I would absolutely say so. The fun thing about this whole thing is like this is the Switch I got in like 2017 when I first got a Nintendo Switch. This is the same exact one. There's no duplicate. There's no dummy prop or whatever. Why would I play a prop anyways? Like when people ask me that, I'm always so confused. This is like my Switch. This is my go-to system. Like I literally plop it back in after a road trip, and I'm like, all right, time to play some more hours in Smash or Mario Kart, Mario Party.
And you don't have Joy-Con drift? I play the console normally, and I get Joy-Con drift. You're telling me that after doing it with matches, you had no Joy-Con drift?
Okay, so I will admit, this again, it's the same exact Switch. The Joy-Cons, and before I even started wrestling with it, I was like replacing Joy-Cons just because I wanted different colors. So I started off with the blue and red, like most of us did. Then I got like the neon. I think it was like I got purple and orange. Then I got the neon pink and green, which I really like. That's like my favorite color set. And then I went for the muted like gray colors as well.
Yep.
So I've gone through a few Joy-Cons. Joy-Con drift is very real, and
One day, I am confident and hopeful that they will fix it for all of us. But man, oh man,
it's rough. It's rough. Like the Switch Lights somehow have Joy-Con drift. I never understood it. I'm like, it's like, and then that's the whole thing. So it's like, my system's broken then, I guess. Like,
yeah, I said that's a whole faceplate that has to come off just to change the, for those who are tech savvy enough to actually go in there and change the analog sticks themselves. Like that's a whole faceplate with like. You got to deal with the screen and all that goes with it. So it's a whole big ordeal now. So
I got to ask, have you ever used the Q-tip method to try to fix your Joy-Con drift?
I haven't done it on the Switch, but in the course of us doing this podcast, I had a PlayStation 3 controller that was hooked up to my computer that I used for a long time. And that started to get some really bad dead spots and some really bad stick drift. So I tried it on that and it didn't fix it necessarily, but I got a couple of more months out of it without too many issues.
No, absolutely. I've done it once with my first pair of Joy-Cons, and it kind of gave me a little bit of extra life, but then after a while, it was just like, yeah, these don't work no more. Like, I just...
what's your game of choice?
Joy-Con? I had to Google Joy-Con because I play Xbox.
I've been trying to convince him for years to get a Switch.
Oh, man, one of those. It's so crazy because, like, I grew up a Nintendo and Sony guy, so I'm very. I try not to be like anti anything, but I'm just not an Xbox guy. The 360 was the last Xbox console I had. I peaked with Gears of War and Halo of that generation.
Gears of War.
And I have respect for Microsoft's IPs. I'm just kind of like that's just kind of it though. Like I don't really like, and Game Pass is really cool though. I will say Game Pass is probably the best like emulating service on any of the three consoles. Although I think Switch Online is getting there. They just announced Game Boys. Like,
oh yeah, I saw that.
Like,
it all depends for me on what they put in that catalog, but that's a whole world of opportunity to put in there.
Did you see the filters though? Like that's what popped me. I was like, so I could play the Game Boy, like the original Game Boy with the green and like black, and then also the color. And I was just like, yo, this is sick.
They essentially took the concept of the Super Nintendo, or not the Super Nintendo, the Super Game Boy, and went, what if we just made this a virtual console on the Switch? And it's just, that's what everyone wanted for so long. And I have to imagine that the next thing that's going to happen is like more scan line, like options for all like the retro consoles and stuff like that. Cause they've got little flares like that here and there, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so exciting but anyways, back to my Xbox bashing. No, I mean, it's all love. I have respect for Xbox. I think Microsoft has been awesome this generation, to be honest, because they've been very like pro gaming, multi-platform, everything. They're like, yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. We're buying everybody, but we're not like trying to take over or anything.
I gotta ask, you wrestle with this Switch, you've been all over, you travel with it. It's never broken?
No. I mean, it's really funny because I remember this was after I came back from Chicago. I got a little nervous when I was on my flight back because you had like a 3.5 hour, 4 hour flight from Chicago to New York. So I'm just like, okay. And like one of my like the Joy-Con did it attach to the Switch, and I was like, oh no. Like it's just sliding on and off. And then I later kind of realized that the specific Joy-Con had chipped a little bit. So that's why I kept, getting detached. And, it's just a Joy-Con issue, not the Switch itself. So I was like, okay, it's just that one Joy-Con. Like, so I got very nervous, but because like that's just long road trips, flights. That's my go-to thing, you know. Like,
Yeah. What's your? Oh, go ahead, John.
Me first.
yes.
What year did you start at House of Glory?
I started training. Oh goodness, it's like it's so crazy to think about. It's almost 10 years. I started training in 2014.
Okay, so
yeah.
I was there 2013.
Holy
And I left from August until April. Okay. So I probably like just missed you.
Absolutely. That's
because I live further away. I'm in Long Island, so it's kind of a hike. So once Creator Pro opened, it was 5 minutes from my house. So I was like, well,
right.
I kind of got to do this.
That's nuts.
Yeah, because I don't think we've ever met. We might have been on a show or two like early on, but I didn't really travel much towards the end. I'm old and broken, so. Oh, yeah, but that's cool.
No, that's so nuts.
Cut from the same cloth here.
Absolutely. That's nuts. So you were in the boxing gym era of Hog, too.
Yes. I was in the boxing gym.
Yeah, no, that's because like there's like different eras of Hog because like I don't know if you're still up to date with the school itself, but so it's like the boxing gym when the school was there and the shows were there. Mm-hmm. I joined when the shows were still there, but they had already moved to like Woodward, which is like Ridgewood, Queens. It was a little deeper in Queens.
I went there once.
Okay, yeah. I think I was there for like the third or fourth week because I remember they were still kind of painting a little bit. So like,
damn. Okay, yeah. So we really like just missed each other.
Yeah, and now they're in Amazura, the where they have the shows. Oh, okay. So now the school is there. So it's like it's pretty cool to meet like boxing gym era people because like the people who were there before me were like, oh man, Leroy, you weren't there for the boxing gym era, man. That's what we put in the most fun. It's so soft on you now. Red goes easy on you guys now, and I'm just like, what?
It was just me and Smiley every Sunday morning, and like maybe two other people just getting our ass beat by Red for like 2 hours. It was fun.
Oh man,
But speaking of Hog, and also breaking your Switch, I saw a clip a while back, and I just watched it again today, of you and Low-Key in the ring. And it stops. You hand him a Switch. You guys play Street Fighter. It projects on the screen. I thought that was the coolest freaking thing I've ever seen in my life. But I was a little scared that if you beat him, which I thought you would, maybe he'd take the thing, throw it. I don't know. But just what was that like?
That was easily the scariest thing I've ever done in wrestling. I am not biased. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not saying it to gas him up or anything. He, to me, is the scare. And I said this before the match. I said this when I was training. He, to me, is the scariest man in professional wrestling because
I agree.
I'm not scared of a Braun Strowman 7'3" guy because he's intimidating. Like, you know, he's like, okay, I understand the sphere. Loki's intimidating because he's smaller than all of us. He will still murder us with his bare hands. Like like it's terrifying. Like he's shorter than me, and mind you, I'm not the biggest guy in wrestling. So like, but he's still physically so imposing. The mystique of him, the everything, like it's just like the clips. As a teenager, I watched him knock out dudes for just looking at him the wrong way, and you know the realism and the not so real aspect of wrestling. Like it just. You never know what you're getting. So I thought I was going to die, and thankfully before, proceeding to try to murder me, he was like, I'll entertain this. I'll play a video game, because I figured, he's dressed like Hitman. There's clearly some video game, love there. So I was like, let me appeal to that. Let me if you're going to kill me, like at least play me in a game first. You know what I mean? That was my logic in that match.
He didn't seem that bad either. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, he took the first round. I was like, yo, like, what the hell?
Was that your idea? Did you bring that up? That we could do this and put it on the screen? Because that's it, like Tyler Breeze used to do with the phone and all that, like on the screen. Like I thought that was always just so cool, and it gets the crowd involved. You're not just sitting there playing. That was
right. Yeah. That was here's the surprising thing. That was actually all Key's idea. Like all of it. He suggested it, and like he pitched it to me, and he was like, Leroy, do you think it's possible to get Street Fighter on the big screen? And I was like, probably. I want to be Ryu. Phone hangs up. And I'm just like, all right, he's going to be Ryu. I will go show me then. Okay, cool.
Damn, all right. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I can't speak for other people. I know all the stories. I know all the things. He was really, really cool with me. He wanted to teach. He wanted to create a moment. There's a picture of mine that I need to find in my Facebook of me and him playing in the ring, and he's smiling, and it is the coolest thing ever. but also terrified. Because if you ever see Loki genuinely smile, it's kind of scary because you're like, he's smiling.
But what's in his brain right now?
Like, you know,
What comes after the smile?
right? But I mean, he was having fun. And like, I think that's a personal victory for me. This guy who, you know, probably seeks pleasure in wrestling from hurting other individuals and, you know, beating respect into people. He's smiling and playing a video game with this other wrestler in the middle of a wrestling ring. And I think there's something really cool in that. People still talk about it to this day. I still think about that moment. My favorite moment of the match was the fan reaction, because I think that the fans were like, okay, big game Leroy versus Loki. Like, he's going to just die, you know, and we're going to watch Leroy die. He's our boy, but he's going to die. And like, I love that reaction a lot because it's like, you know, it's like when you have that friend like at high school who's like a nerd, and then the biggest jock comes over, but everybody likes the lovable nerd. And he's just kind of like, he's going to get his ass kicked, but you know, I really hope it's not that bad.
It's that movie moment.
Yeah. The jock's like, you got any Madden?
Yeah.
You guys are best.
Comes over all big intimidating, like leans over into your ear and goes, I'm being Ryu.
Exactly. My favorite moment. So Pokemon Sword and Shield that just came out. So before the Street Fighter, I was playing Pokemon down to the ring and stuff like that. So, you know, I'd shown some fans, made my little entrance and stuff, and Loki comes out. The you could hear a pin drop the moment the mood changes, you know. And then like Loki's in the ring doing the, you know, he's doing the whole thing and everything, and I'm just kind of like, you know, looking at him like, and then like at first they're just like, you know, F him up, Loki, F him up, you know, blah blah blah. I'm just trying not to curse too much, and like, you know, at first it's just deafening, everybody's chanting that, but then you hear a pocket of fans slowly, you know, going, catch 'em all, Leroy, catch 'em all, and then
cool.
And then it starts turning into that. And I'm not trying to sound too much of like a fanboy, but like it really felt this way. And I believe it was, you know, and it turned into like almost a John Cena dueling chants where it was like, F him up, Loki, catch him all, Leroy. And it was like deafening. And I was like, in that one moment, these fans, even though they knew I was going to die, they still were like, we don't care. That's still our guy. You're going to beat him up,
fantastic.
Loki, but that's still our guy. And we need you to know and feel that.
And that's what you do it for, right?
Hell yeah.
Those moments.
That's fantastic. What a story. Now, so you talked about Street Fighter, but what game do you normally play when you're, you know, coming into the ring, or when you're making your entrance? And then, you know, on the flip side of that, what do you play when you're not, when you're just kind of relaxing and hanging out?
So genuinely, I am very, very good at Smash Ultimate. I can play that in my sleep, and it's like a game that I don't really need to think as much. So it's like I kind of default to that because I don't need to think. I could do well in it regardless of what's kind of going on around me and stuff. And I mean, that's kind of how it started, to be honest, because like the first time I ever did it, I was just, Smash Ultimate had just came out. That's when I started like really wrestling with the Switch in the ring and stuff. And like, I was just like, hey, I'm just not putting this down. I need to unlock all the characters. Because Smash Ultimate, I don't know if you know, like to unlock the characters, you have to put a certain amount of hours into the game. So I was just trying to put in hours so I could unlock the characters faster. So I was just like, my entrance music hit. I'm going to keep playing. Oh, the bell
open that vault so you can get that encounter.
Yes, exactly. So I default to Smash. Mario Kart I'm still pretty decent at for the most part. It's a little bit trickier. Like if it's newer tracks or I'm not super familiar, so like I might not do as well. And then whatever, you know, tickles my fancy. Like, you know, like I said, Pokemon Sword and Shield came out when I was facing keys, so that was the game I was playing. I was playing a lot of Arceus last year early on. This year, what was I playing in the ring? I default to Smash a lot. I think I was playing Mario Party once, just because like I was just doing it like I was just trying to unlock some collectibles and stuff in the new Mario Party game. So I was like, let me just play against the computers or whatever, or do this mini game, whatever. And I was just like, so I played a lot of Mario Party as well. I think I played a little bit of Odyssey earlier on.
Okay.
Yeah, like that's always fun to me. Just trying to like, you know, get as much boons as I can. But it depends, you know, like sometimes if a certain matchup I want to get in a certain mindset, then I'll play specific games. Like I think one time, I think when I was wrestling O'Shea Edwards, I was in the mindset of, okay, you know, he's going to give me all this intense energy. And if I'm going to be able to stay zen, stay cool, I'm going to play Animal Crossing.
The Game Marks podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, providing precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer.
It's the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. The Performance Package 4.0 comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, body hair trimmer, the Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, below the belt toner and deodorant, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies.
It's definitely holding all my goodies, if you know what I mean. Over 7 million men worldwide trust Manscaped with their grooming needs, and we've got an exclusive offer for all of the game marks out there. You can get 20% off your order and free worldwide shipping just by using the code GameMarks at manscaped.com.
Unlock your confidence and always use the right tool for the job with Manscaped. Manscaped.com and use code GameMarks.
There you go.
It's a good Zen game.
There you go.
There's literally the whole game is a Zen garden.
I was like, I'm just going to stay focused, going to stay cool, not going to let him intimidate me. And Animal Crossing is my happy place. Got to be on my island.
Oh, yeah. That's a great game.
I put a lot of hours into that on the Wii, but haven't seen it since.
What? Oh, that got me through quarantine, dude.
I don't know. See, I'm afraid to get a Switch because I could already sit there and put like 2 hours easy just into Marvel Snap. Having like Switch in my hands, I'll be lost.
And this is not like a one-off thing that he's saying to be nice because you're here. He has said this repeatedly over the 4 years that we've been doing this podcast, where he just goes, I really am interested in the Switch. He goes, the problem is I'm afraid that I'm going to really be invested once I get this console. And I just don't have the time to do that right now.
No.
I mean, you got to catch up. Yeah, I mean, you got to catch up on some games, too. Like, I would say Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild 2 is about to come out. And it's just, like, there's so much. Like, Breath of the Wild 2, I mean, like, was such a... Or Breath of the Wild 1, I should say. Such a great game. Like, it's one of my favorite, like, all-time games, period. I didn't know if I was going to like it because it was so different from other Zelda games, and I'm a big Zelda fan. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I get the whole Skyrim influence on this, but I don't know if I want that. And then I loved it, and I was like, well, this is... I don't know if they can go back. It has to keep being this way with Zelda.
At least on the Switch, they can switch it up later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's get back to wrestling for a little bit because I saw either you called him out or something, but you were trying to wrestle Dan Moff.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a death wish? How many lives do you have?
I'm just calling out everybody from that Doghouse era. You know what I mean? Everybody from the early 2000s. You know,
catch them all.
Homicide, Key. I want all of them.
No, man.
No, I mean, it's like I think people like think that I'm just like big game. It's not just the game, the Switch. Like when the Switch goes down and I wrestle, I treat wrestling like a game. You know, I treat it, and not in a disrespectful way. It's like I take games very seriously. I take wrestling very seriously. And like if I beat, let's say, let me. I'm gonna do some video game lingo just for the sake of it because I only know how to talk one way. If I just stomp on a Goomba, that's not really that impressive. But me taking out Bowser, that's impressive. You know, me climbing a leaderboard means nothing if the high score is just down here. But if I call out Dan Moff and I say, hey, I want Dan Moff. I want to prove myself. I'm the big game in the ring, on the sticks. It doesn't matter. This is who I do. This is who I am. Then, like, you know, it only works if you're calling out the biggest and the baddest. And yeah, like maybe I might die, but at the same time, like the way I feel about myself is I got unlimited lives. I'm the player one. I learn from losses. I grow. I level up. I get the EXP points, and can't get EXP points from sitting at home, you know, just toiling away and, you know, trying to take the easy way out or find easy opponents, you know?
There you go. I love Dan Moff. He's the best. But
yeah, he's gonna kill. He's gonna try. I mean, if he shows up, he hasn't answered my challenge. So you know, we'll. You know, I feel like he's just kind of overlooking me, which is the other aspect of it. Because it's like, hey, I gotta prove something to myself. You know, like I'm still a pro wrestler, and I like to think I'm still a high level wrestler. And it's like you gotta always earn your respect in wrestling, especially as a younger guy. But like, I'm like, hey man, I want my respect. If I gotta earn it, trial by fire, you know, Demon Souls kind of style, then that's what I'm doing, you know?
Perfect. Yeah, get it. Now, we talk to a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers that say video games kind of influence their childhood or their decision to wrestle. Like we talked to MJF, and he brought up, I believe it was Day of Reckoning, how he loved Randy Orton. You could see now how much, the same teal trunks and all that. Did you play wrestling video games?
I didn't even catch that. That's great.
It's the same. Did you play wrestling games growing up? Are you
absolutely?
What was the first one you kind of remember gravitating to and like, hey, this is pretty cool. Maybe I could be this someday.
The easy one is always, and I think it's a popular one. You guys are gonna be like, "Oh, roll your eyes," but No Mercy. I
could have said it with you.
I was saying, it's on everyone's list. Some people have it sitting in different spots on their top, but I have yet to meet a person yet that game is not in their top 5.
Yeah, like I that was my first one for sure. I grew up with an N64. The N64 was my first home console. So, I loved it. Me and my cousins and my uncle played it all the time growing up. And then when I got a little bit older, got a PS2 and stuff. Here Comes the Pain was like the first one that I really like. Because I was like a really young kid when I was playing No Mercy. So I wasn't really like learning the game. I was just like, I'm going to try to do a finisher. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do that. So, Here Comes the Pain was the first game I really learned. And then, of course, the SmackDown vs. Raw game started coming out. I played a little bit of Day of Reckoning. My biggest shame is that I played Day of Reckoning later, not when it first came out, but a little bit later. So
Me too.
I didn't. Yeah,
wow, those are my favorite wrestling games.
No, they're like the perfect balance of simulation and arcade. Because I think SmackDown vs. Raw, and I mean, they came out around the same time. Because I think the first one came out, and then Day of Reckoning 2 came out in the same year. If I'm remembering this right, I might be off, but they came out around the relatively same time.
It's about the same roster.
Yeah, so they were, and the same soundtrack too.
Yep.
So they were like going for like, okay, we're gonna have this one do more of the arcadey stuff, and then this one's gonna be more realistic with with all this and that, and blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, but I'm like, I lean more into SmackDown vs. Raw, and then later Day of Reckoning, I was like, oh, this is cool. I love the momentum meter thing. I love the momentum shift. I love all of this. Just a lot of fun. But yeah, SmackDown vs. Raw is really where I grit my teeth. I put so many hours into 2007 and 2008 specifically, literally just playing GM mode with my cousins and just like trying to have the better show week by week,
So do you play the current game now instead?
That's what I was just about to ask.
And all that?
Yeah, so I play, I got 2K. I got the name was 2K. I think it's a step in the right direction. So with the modern 2K games, I'm not trying to be a little snob or whatever, but they kind of, I was getting them just because my friends play them, and I kind of just wanted to play online something. But we kind of knew they weren't great, especially like the last one before this one. I was like, which is what 20?
20, yeah,
20 with the glitches and stuff. I didn't even buy that one. That was the first one I didn't buy in like I think 5 years.
You didn't miss anything. You didn't miss anything.
And I was just like, I'm not getting it. I remember my friend, one of my friends was just like, "Oh, you remember Quinn?"
Oh, I know Quinn.
Yes, I remember. Like even Quinn was trying to convince me to get it. I was like, "Dude, I just can't." Like, he's like, "Oh, but the glitches are kind of cool," and I'm like, "Why are we celebrating these glitches? These game-breaking glitches?"
Yeah. He's not wrong though. They were fun too.
They were fun.
Becky Lynch's wild hair and
they were fun doing research when the game was happening, and then when you play them and you experience them firsthand, and you have like actual video recordings of the glitches that you experience, and you like have real time reactions. Like that's a whole different journey in itself. But it's not the point of the game, so that it kind of like you're like, oh, we didn't play this game to experience the glitches. We wanted a wrestling game.
Yeah, no doubt. And so I think the newest 2K is a step in the right direction. I like the Rey Mysterio story mode showcase thing. I thought it was cool and well done. It's just a weird like documentary kind of thing, and I really dug that. Weird. And I'm like, yeah. And I assume they're going to do that same thing with Cena, which I'm here for. I'm kind of like, all right, cool. Like I don't mind this. I think it's weird that they're going like a generation back. Like I would have thought that they would have made Roman Reigns the focal point of this game. Just top act in wrestling or something, but I don't hate it. I don't hate the nostalgia stuff. So, I like where the series is going. The GM mode, I've played a little bit. I've played locally a little bit. Me and my friend did one, and it's fine. I think it's a little bare bones compared to like 2008 and 2007. Like, I think there was just more there because you had all the titles. You had a lot more options to do in between the shows and the segments. I feel like this is still like they're still playing catch up. Like it's like, hey, you literally did this like over 10 years ago. Just literally copy and paste. Just come on.
Well, it seems to be like they're making bigger promises for the next one, and hopefully, they live up to what it was. And those diehard people like yourself who went back and actually go. So John and I, full disclosure, John and I have never been the biggest fans of the GM mode, but
Ah.
Right, John? I'm not incorrect in
No.
saying that, right?
No, yeah, no, the console ones especially. Like I did like EWR and all those and e-fetting back in the day, but like GM mode, I never really got into.
No, I
Like,
get it.
I wanted to be
It's-
into it more, like writing the promos and stuff.
Yeah, so I feel like nowadays with like all the new changes that they're saying that they're going to come out with, and all the new creative stuff that's going to be in there, that maybe this will be the year that we finally dive in, and it'll be for those people who are more familiar with the older generations of GM mode, it'll be something that is a little bit more of a more in-depth experience, and for people like John and myself who never really got into it, maybe it'll finally be the year that it sucks us in, and we're like, wow, what have we been missing for all these years?
I'll give it a shot.
It's like I'm hopeful because like it's like, hey, it's progress. Like I'm just like, hey, come on, we can get there. Like even a few summers ago, me and a few friends, like we literally just played over a summer GM mode in 2008. One of us was ECW, one of us was SmackDown. I was SmackDown, and then the other person was Raw. And I was like, yo, give me the cruiserweights. I'm gonna make y'all care about these cruiserweights.
Hell yeah. Get that excitement level up.
Hell yes.
Now, video games, wrestling go hand in hand. I see here Super Show. What is this, a card game that you were a part of? Because
Yes.
these cards look pretty damn cool, actually.
Yes, sir. The SRG Super Show, cards. It's still pretty cool, like, because I'm just like, dang, that's nuts. And like, I don't want to say I forget because I don't forget, but it's like, wow, that's nuts. I'm on a trading card, and people can like use my finishing moves on people and stuff, and my signature moves, like the brutality, which is a flipping lung blower that I named after Mortal Kombat because I was just like, because Fatality was already taken by Evil Uno and them, so I was like, brutality, and it's pretty brutal looking, so I'm like, all right, let's go with that, and then
got
like
the Switch Kanrana in there.
it's really rad. Like I don't know any other way to kind of just describe it. Like it's really cool. Like I can't even fake be like, yeah, man, I'm just on a card, no big deal.
So is the ultimate goal to get in a video game?
Oh, absolutely.
Have you talked to? I'll say. Have you talked to like Wrestling Code at all, or Virtual Basement? Or?
I've messaged Virtual Basement a few times. I've been tagged on their thing a lot. A lot of my friends like to joke that they're ignoring me because they don't know how to get how they would like how I would control, and I don't envy them, but I'm just kind of like, come on.
You would have to come out with like a generic looking Game Gear because they wouldn't be able to give you the Switch for your entrance.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd have to just have like, he just comes out with a controller and he has a controller in his hand and it's like a nondescript generic looking $3 Amazon controller.
They're like, please don't sue us, Nintendo. Which it's like, and so to me, I'm like, listen, like, come on, we can at least talk. Maybe we could like work something out. Maybe they're afraid of like, okay, we got to if we put Leroy in the game, it's got to be like a completely different move set and completely different coding for him and movements because, and then does he put it down? Do we have a way he puts it down? Does he, you know what I mean? I get it. But at the same time, like, man, if you don't stop playing games and hit me up already, like.
Well, when the Game Marks podcast game comes out, you're the first person we're going to call.
Thank you.
And we will make sure that you have your Switch. We'll pay whatever rights we have to get you the Switch.
Don't promise that. We have this like big dream for the past 3 years of making like a WrestleMania the arcade game style game and with like our universe, but
nice.
One day we'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
One day.
There
needs to be more wrestling arcade style games.
Sure.
I love them.
There was a Fire Pro game that came out a few years ago, like on the PS4, I think. And it was cool because it had the New Japan roster and everything, and it was sick.
Yep.
But like, I didn't care for it because I tried to play it. I tried to get into it. I really did. And it felt too arcadey where there wasn't like a skill or whatever that you learn. You're just button mashing and you're like, all right, just hit a one-winged angel with no momentum, no meter, no whatever. I just mashed and I got it. And it's like, oh, that's not really fun to me. If I can lose to a 5-year-old who's just mashing faster than me, then that's not a fun game to me. Like, yeah.
I did not like those games at all. And they really had to like grow on me once like you figure out. There's like the inner workings you have to figure out of that game.
There's a learning curve. It's really old. The old
a lot of
ones are
work.
very hard.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. John came around at a certain point. I want to say it was maybe like 2 years into the podcast. He was like, I think I finally understand what's happening with these Fire Pro games. I think I'm kind of starting to like it. So you're not alone. It is a little bit of the Fire Pro series is a very divisive series in the video game wrestling conversation, but it's something that if you put the time in, you get a little bit more appreciation out of it. But it's at the same time, it's like, who really wants to put in, months, if not a year's worth of time, just like, all right, I spent all this time going through the back catalog so I can appreciate the game that came out in 2016 or whatever.
Yeah, no. What's the reward here too? It's like, okay, cool. Now I'm ready for the competitive scene.
Yeah. all those local Fire Pro tournaments that you hear about it, like local GameStops.
Oh yeah. No, not even that. You have to find like a grungy old like Chinatown arcade or something.
At your local flea market, Fire Pro Wrestling Returns tournament coming.
All right, so we brought up soundtracks before, and wrestling games are kind of known for having, I guess, hit or miss, but there's a lot of them that are really good. So we had a question from Blue Ray Mysterio on Twitter. They wanted to know your favorite video game soundtrack and your favorite console besides the Switch.
Ooh, those are good questions. If we're gonna stay on video game wrestling theme, and I say this all the time, like SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 and 2007, like I love both of those soundtracks so much. I literally have on my phone, on my Spotify, like I work out like consistently to those playlists. Like they get me in a good mood. They're all great. Like that's how I got into Rise Against. That's how I got into like so many bands that I kind of started listening to in my like middle school, teenage years. And I was like, oh yeah. And it kind of really influenced the way I listen to music. But if I'm going to go with a non-wrestling thing, I would say, I think I would go with, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Yeah, there we go. Because I was going to say Sonic 2, but I say Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I mean, all the Sonic games, even the bad ones, have amazing soundtracks. Like they're always great. Even the more like I love Crush 40. I love even the old school ways. And also like, Michael Jackson helped, produce those. Yep. He doesn't get credit because I guess he wasn't, I don't know, something happened, but Michael Jackson did produce those, and that's pretty cool. And when they remastered it messed everything up because then they had to the new themes just ain't good.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And then your favorite console besides the Switch?
Oh, yes. Woo, that's tough.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, it's tough because there's so many. When I was younger, I really appreciated the GameCube because I felt like there were so many like gems there that I think that not enough people give like credit for. Like I think Double Dash is like probably the best Mario Kart game. I think 8 is like probably my favorite, but I think Double Dash is so like there's so much to it. There's so much skill. Like you can't just be good at Double Dash. You have to like get the right person with you. You have to learn the controls, learn to when to switch, when not to switch. Like it's so like that's a game you have to really learn. Like to be excellent at. Melee was like the game that got me into Smash Brothers, the game that kind of got me into Nintendo as an entity. Because like, oh, I cannot like Nintendo's just it. Like look at these mascots duking it out. I do shower, so I'm not that good at Melee, but it's like I was hoping you guys would appreciate that. But I was decent enough at its peak. If not, I would say I had a lot of love for the PS3. Like I would say the PS3 had a lot of my modern gaming hits. Like God of War 3 was really good. I love the Uncharted series so much. I really, really do.
That's the PS3 I had, the Uncharted PS3.
The PS3 is definitely in my my top consoles of all time.
Yeah, there's just so much options there. The first Borderlands game. There's just so many like good hits there. I guess like the backwards compatibility was only on some of them, but like there was a lot of options, and I really think that like if I was in a desert somewhere and they were like, okay, you got a TV and this and that, and PS3 and you get the entire catalog, I'd be like, oh, I'm good, I'm set. Like I literally have so many options, Like I feel like with other systems, it's like, oh, there's like 3 or 4 really good games, but then after that, it's kind of it. That's kind of why I'm not really into Xbox. It's just like, I feel like there's 3 or 4 games, and it's just like, after that, it's like, okay, what else? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess Call of Duty, but I can play that on PlayStation as well. So I'm like, yeah.
Oh, I've been a PlayStation guy my whole life. I have had like the 360s and the original Xbox, but I came to the point where like, do I want to keep buying these games, or do I want the Game Pass on a cheaper digital console where I could just play the same games that I played anyway, but cheaper?
Yeah, but Spider-Man though.
No, honestly,
on the PC in a few years.
Spider-Man, God of War, like with the PS5, like PS5, PS4, like I'm like, their exclusives are like these are masterful exclusives.
Last of Us.
Oh man, like these games are like it's really hard to compete with them. I feel like and I get it. Like I get what if you're paying for like quantity, like a lot of quantity for cheap and blah blah blah. Like I think definitely go with Xbox for sure. But if you just want to play some of the best games of a generation, and not have to wait for it to be on PC like 3 years later, you got to go with PlayStation. Because, like, that's it. Like, I mean, that's the only thing with PC is, like, well, you got to wait, like, 2-3 years before you'll get it. Then they just released Spider-Man on PC.
Yeah.
Like,
and not even Miles Morales yet. They're still on the first one.
Yep.
Exactly. God of War Ragnarok. We're not seeing that on PC till, like, 2 years from now. Like,
yeah. I mean, it'll get there, but
and I'm sure it'll look great, but...
Oh, yeah. And the hard part, I guess, is really when... you have to avoid spoilers in those games for.
Yeah, like there's no way. I played God of War. I beat it about a month ago. I got it a little bit later. I got it like around. I think I got it right after Thanksgiving because I think it was I think it was like a Black Friday sale. I caught and I got it a little bit cheaper. And I played it mostly through December. I beat it like a few weeks ago, like mid-January, because I wanted to try to get as much side quests done before I beat the main thing. And I still got spoiled because like YouTube thumbnails are the worst. I'm like. I mean, am I allowed to spoil things here? Am I going to ruin someone's day if they? But like when they go, everybody here play. At least you two played God of War, right? At least,
yeah.
Okay, cool. Like when they said the real tier, and I'm just like, dude, what are you? He's fake. Like he's Odin. Screw y'all. Like I'm like y'all ruined it, and it wasn't the worst one because I just like deleted YouTube for a day, and I was like, all right, let me just buckle down and beat this game after that.
Yeah.
And I just like, I was like, all right, I knew something was off with him, but like, I was like, damn it, like, why'd y'all do this to me?
And we'll put a little.
Last of Us 2 got spoiled for me that way. But
I say we'll put a little spoiler warning before that, so that.
Please do. At least Last of Us 2 has been out for it's been out for like 2 years. So if you didn't play it, that's on y'all. Like
Yeah.
But that
they're waiting for the PC release.
Yeah, that game got spoiled to me too. But then I was like, maybe it's just one of those because it was like a leak thing. So I was like, maybe they're wrong. Maybe it's not like that, and it was. And I mean, also the people who spoiled it were trying to ruin the game. Like they were trying to definitely just be like, oh, the game sucks because of the story. I'm like, okay, you didn't like the story. Like that's such an opinion oriented thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they killed Joel 10 minutes into the game, and I'm like, okay, I mean. 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. But no, like it's just like sometimes I don't understand why people do that because it's like if you don't like the game, you can just play something else. You don't have to.
Someone likes it.
Yeah, like go play Fall Guys or something or Fortnite. Like.
Oh man! All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I would say tell us where you're going to be coming up, but this is probably going to come out after, but you can anyway if you want. But hit us with the socials, hit us with the merch, let us know where to
maybe the most frequent promotions that you work with, because that way it's a little bit of future proof.
So, right. So depending on when this airs, well, we have like almost a month, maybe. I'll give you guys some credit. And March 3rd, I have Invictus Pro Wrestling in the Bronx. The Get Down. It's going to be a great show. It's at the Bronx Brewery. It's sick.
Nice.
Sick brewery. It's really cool.
That is a great brewery. I've been there. That's awesome.
No, it's sick. And like last year we did like a no ring death match. I wrestled Kelly McMurphy, and me and him literally beat each other up with video games. I there's no hyperbole. There's no whatever. He hit me in the head with a PS2, and then he got the old school PS3, like the fat one, the launch one, and he tried to like drop it on my head. Like, and those things are like a ton.
Oh yeah, those things are heavy.
And then of course, literally one of the worst pains I've ever been in wrestling. He hit me with a Guitar Hero guitar right into the back, and it didn't do the Jeff Jarrett explode into nothing. Like it just broke my back.
At least it wasn't a Gen 1 Rock Band guitar. Those things were solid.
Oh.
I mean, I got to put someone through a Harmonix drum set, so that was that was the kind of payoff. Then I also have We Are Wrestling also in the Bronx. That it was the next week, March 10th, which is where I've called out Dan Moff. So we'll see if he shows up, and I expect everybody to show up for that because, like I said, I'm trying to level up. I'm trying to call out the big bads of every generation. So it's like, hey, like. Y'all want the smoke? Y'all want to play with big game? Let's do this. Let me level up. And then, of course, you guys can follow me. I make it very easy. I try to be easy. Social media is not really my forte. I prefer online gaming over social media anyways. So at Big Game Leroy, Twitter, Instagram. You can add me on Facebook, Leroy Green, if you guys still use Facebook, I guess. I don't know. I don't really use it that much more. I literally just use it as a way to message people. I kind of just, besides that, I'm like, I guess I'll share whatever I posted on Twitter or something. And then you guys can get my merch, prowrestlingtees.com/buy Big Game Leroy. That is where you can buy Big Game Leroy.
Awesome.
Hell yes, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us and talk a little bit about your background in wrestling and gaming and just genuinely shooting the shit with us for the last 40 minutes.
Yeah, no, this has been great. Like, seriously, thank you guys for having me. I enjoy podcasts that aren't just wrestling. Like, hey, how long have you been training? How long? And those are cool too. But I'm just like, hey, like, I could just talk gaming with gamers. Like, I'm like, let's please more of that. Like,
well, you're welcome back anytime.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you so much.
George, that was a lot of fun. I wish we crossed paths. We would have been best friends in training.
He probably would be doing this podcast
10 years ago. Yeah. See you, George.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. And we look forward to having more interviews and more different types of episodes coming up in the next few weeks. So look out for those.
Absolutely. Huge thanks to Big Game Leroy. And you heard all of his plugs a few seconds ago. So make sure to go and check out all of his merch and follow him on all socials, see where he's going to be at. And hey, maybe coming over to a town near you. And with that, John, I think that we should be plugging all our stuff here. So youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for all of our weekly playthrough videos, the video versions of all of these interviews that we do, and all of the videos for all of the games that we have played over the course of the last almost 4 years. That never is not going to sound weird to me. GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our exclusive merchandise, ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for all of our shirt designs, Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for our shows early and ad-free. And this is the part that Johnny Clash is getting ready. If you're watching the video version, you see what he's huddling in his hands at GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. And please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Ding. And leave us a 5-star review and a rating on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. John, that's it. Again, big thanks to Big Game Leroy. And with that, John, it's time for you to do that thing that you do so well.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no game shard. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.